On this episode of Orange Modworks News, we're talking all about Cybertek. With the announcement of the Cybertek line recently, Orange Modworks has been listening very carefully to what all of you have had to say about it. Your thoughts, your concerns, the things you like, you don't like, all of it is being taken into account, and it is very, very important. With that said, there is one thing that has risen above the rest in terms of concerns about this line, and that is the dart length. Now, I want to go into some brief kind of background about this before we move forward, so let's get into that. So why was the initial launch at 31mm dart length instead of 36mm? Well, when development started about 3 years ago for this line, Orange Modworks set out a list of requirements for the products themselves, and at the top of the list was actually having darts that were 36mm long, because that is the community standard. Throughout the development process, they wanted to accomplish a bunch of different things like being able to keep the blasters compact, being able to future-proof them for future designs and development and such, and over time they realized that they may need to adjust to a different dart size to make some of these things possible. They continued to try with 36mm, and some of the trade-offs were that you were getting a bigger, bulkier blaster, things required more components or more cost was put into them, and there was a lot that kind of was tried and attempted before that jump to 31mm. So just wanted to clarify that it wasn't so much a Orange Modworks wants to do 31mm just because why not, but there was a lot of testing and trial and error that went into it. So even if you take away the scalability and future-proofing concerns and all of that and look at it from a pure performance standpoint, the simplest solution was to change to a shorter dart length. A shorter dart length means it reduces the distance of travel, which in turn reduces the size of gears, which in turn lowers the demand on the motors, which means the blaster can be a lower cost for the consumer. With all of that said, all of the feedback and thoughts and concerns, the variety of different points brought up have all been heard. And Orange Modworks is taking this back to design to see if it can be made to work with a 36mm dart, as that is the community standard, and it is important to be able to utilize that. While the initial looks into this have been promising, it is important to note that there will be design changes throughout this process. The most obvious of which being some size changes to accommodate the size of the mags in the grip magwell. Also, the blaster's height will change a little bit to accommodate things like larger gears or changed internals to make this system work. There's also options like metal gears being looked into, but those may be so prohibitively expensive that it may not be a viable option. So there's a lot of things and details that are being worked on currently that need to be tested and tried and sorted through. And things like the motor will actually be getting a power boost to accommodate the extra space involved in this, so we should see a little bit of that changing as well. Now, something important to note is all of this will mean that there will be a price increase most likely on these blasters to accommodate the changes and the adoptions of the more expensive components to make the blasters 36mm compatible. That said, those who have pre-ordered already will have those prices honored. It's not going to have any extra prices sprung on you or anything like that, so those of you that have already pre-ordered, don't worry about that. On that topic of pricing, there have been a lot of questions about darts and mags and costs and all of that type of stuff. And one thing that's really, I think, important to mention here is there have been some comments and concerns about needing to use only Orange Modworks smart chip darts, and that's not the case. You can use the same cut down darts that we've been using in the community for years. They will work just fine with this system. Obviously, You may not want to use wider head darts that may get stuck in a barrel if you're using a Springer, but within reason and expectation that you would assume they should function in these systems. What the prices of the blasters themselves will shift to after everything has been designed and fitted again for that 36mm dart size is uncertain, so there's no hard number on that yet. But for darts, the prices are looking like $5 for 100 non-chipped darts, $15 for 500 non-chipped darts, $18 for 100 of the smart darts, which are the chipped darts, $15 for two 15 dart mags, $20 for two 25 dart mags, $50 for the R1 Cybertek Battle Chest, which is 1,000 non-chipped darts and 4 15 dart mags, $60 for the M1 Cybertek Battle Chest, which is again 1,000 non-chipped darts and 4 25 dart mags. Now the initial launch promotion is every order over $30 will come with 100 non-chipped darts for free if you've purchased a blaster with Orange Modworks before. And all these will be available separately during the Kickstarter when it launches. Now, one final thing to touch on, and that is modability. It's something that is very important to this community and kind of one of the foundational points of it. And there's been questions about performance and things like that for these blasters. Now, if you're tinkering with them, you should be able to get them to around 150 to 160 FPS. It will require swapping things out internally, like springs, barrels, etc., etc. And you could potentially push that FPS a bit further if you're sacrificing rate of fire, and there's some things to consider there if you're willing to tinker. Now, there are some discussions and plans potentially to offer upgrade parts and things like that in the future, but there's no full kits in the work as of yet. So definitely let us know your thoughts on that, if those would be potential components and things like that that you would be interested in seeing. That's going to wrap up this episode of OMW News. Wanted to focus solely on Cybertek this time around to get a good amount of information to all of you and update you to the changes that are going on with the line. So to every single person that shared your opinions, thoughts, comments on this line, what you like, don't like, want to see, it's appreciated. Please continue to do so. Thank you for it. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.